If there's one common expression I can't stand, it's "I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy." It's so obviously untrue. I can scarcely conceal my irritation whenever I hear someone utter it, as someone inevitably does at the grief support group I frequent. So dramatic. Really? Your worst enemy. You do realize your worst enemy isn't a former friend who badmouthed you, or an ex who cheated, or a coworker who's bossy? This is your worst possible enemy we're talking about. You wouldn't wish some tears, illness, a divorce, whatever drama it is, on your hypothetical supreme nemesis. Your worst enemy is someone you don't even know is your enemy yet. Someone insignificant and passing in the background of your life. Someone who maneuvered themselves into a regular gathering you visit so they would select a target, study your psychology, and make you regret ever being so candid. Someone who wants to lay waste to your life as you know it. Someone like the annoyed stranger sitting across the circle of your grief support group. Your worst enemy is the type of sadist who will stalk and eventually abduct you, but not before killing some loved ones and destroying some possessions, to drive home the point that how much they've taken away and wronged you on every level. They'll bind and torture you for weeks, using methods they've learned will extricate the most suffering, betraying the intimate trust of the meetings, because what is the worst enemy without betrayal? One day, your worst enemy will ask you a question. Maybe you'll have to remember what trauma from your past they're referencing. It'll seem so insignificant compared to this, or maybe it'll be the first thing on your mind. Would you wish it on your worst enemy now? My victims always reply yes. They'll sobbingly wish far worse things on me. Then I'll kill them. At my latest meeting, there's a new guy. He recounts his self-destructive grief following losing his daughter, how he used to carry a razor blade around his pocket to harm himself, how one time at his lowest he'd cut himself deep. I wouldn't wish that pain on my worst enemy. There's that stupid phrase again. My eyes twinkle. A new victim to test my hypothesis on. Follow Stan home after every meeting. Eliminate his wife, trash his house, and abduct him like any other. Tie him up in my basement, torture him, etc. Finally, I ask the question: would you wish that deep cut on your worst enemy now? And I smile. I love this part. No, he replies, pained but confident. I'm taken aback. No one has ever answered that before. Suddenly, Stan leaps from his chair, severed restraints, and pins me to the floor. Incensed, he digs his concealed razor blade into my neck so deep that it hits bone. I'll do a hell of a lot more than wish it. I have always been terrified of spiders. Their beady eyes, their hairy legs, the way they crawl and squirm. I detest them. There are nights I lie awake and all I can see in my mind are spiders, hordes of them, scuttling, moving ever closer and closer. As a child, I once awoke and took a sip from the glass of water near my bedside, only to choke and gasp as I found, to my horror, that one of the creatures had fallen inside. I only drink from covered cups now. Yes, yes, I'll bring you some water in a minute. I'm sure you're thirsty. The psychologists I was taken to were unable to determine if I had some form of OCD or if it was simply severe arachnophobia. But whatever the case, the thoughts drove me near to madness. I couldn't eat without images of those foul things running through my mind. If there was a part of my food too stringy, why perhaps it was a leg. Long and spindly, too crunchy, it was likely an exoskeleton bursting beneath my teeth. The last time I tried to eat solid food, it was a sandwich, ham and cheese on white bread. I remember it as though it was yesterday. A slice of bread, carefully inspected and spider-free. One of ham, translucent. Any shape behind or within the visible would be visible through it like shadow puppets. A final slice of bread, and the sandwich is done. I raised it to my mouth to take a bite, and the tiny spiders began to crawl out of it, moving along my face and down my throat as I screamed and screamed. I ate exclusively smoothies now, blended until smooth, and I triple check each and every item I add to the pitcher to ensure no spiders can get in. Please stop squirming. The ropes, the ropes you are tied with are tight. and I can assure you you will not be able to wriggle out. My skills at tying knots come from excellent tutors. I've lived like this for 40 or more years now, and it was only recently that I truly realized I'm not mad. These spiders, these hellish beasts crawling around, scuttling inside my mind, they are real. They're in there, and I can hear them when it's quiet. I opened a can of soda, sealed of course. I never drink out of open containers, but as I opened it, I couldn't shake the image of 8 legs peeking out, slowly making their way through the aperture, and I looked, and there they were, just like I had imagined. A spider exited the heretofore sealed can, where no spider could possibly exist, possibly survive. It crawled onto the table and stood there, looking at me, its 8 eyes meeting my two in some form of understanding. They could be anywhere, go anywhere. There was nothing I could do to stop them. Well, tell me there was one thing. That's why I brought you here to my nice, dark basement. I never used to come down here. Couldn't shake the movement of the shadows in the corners, the way the dark clings to the unfinished rafters like cobwebs. I'm not afraid anymore. I've learned and I have grown, and I know how to make them leave me be. Stop crying. You won't die. Just become part of something. Something more. Now hold still. There, see? The clamps are uncomfortable, I know, but we can't have you biting down on them. They're so industrious, you see, always breeding and growing inside of me. The only way to get them out is to give them somewhere to live. This is the only way I can have my peace. You may feel a slight tickle. Now say ah. I finally caught the man stalking me. For 3 nights in a row I had the same feeling. Someone was definitely following me. At first it was small things, like a dark figure reflected in a car window behind me, someone getting off at the same train station behind me, someone crossing the street at the same time I did. But every time I turned around, the street was empty. By the 4th night I was sure of it, so I set up a small camera in the backyard pointing toward my house. I stayed up watching the footage, and at around 2:13 a.m., something moved. A man dressed in all black climbed over the fence at my backyard. A chill ran through me as I watched him step slowly across the yard. He stopped right outside below my bedroom window and just stood there looking in. And he was still there that very moment. My hands started shaking. I grabbed the handgun from my bedside drawer and stepped outside. "Don't move," I said as the backyard light flicked on. The man froze and suddenly turned around for a moment. He looked startled, then held his hands up looking shocked. "Seriously?" he muttered. I kept the gun raised. "What are you doing in my yard?" He let out an annoyed grunt. "Fine, you caught me. Answer the damn question." He shrugged. "What can I say? You're nice to look at." I retched slightly. "Were you planning to do anything?" He hesitated. "Eventually." My stomach twisted, and I gritted my teeth, tightening my grip on the gun. "Come on, that bedroom window's just asking to get climbed into. Shame your kid's always there. And the one night she's not, this happens." He gestured at my gun, but I just blinked. What kid?" He pointed toward my window. "The girl that's always in there." I paused. "I don't have a kid." He raised his eyebrows. "Your little sister, then? Girl looks about 5. My voice came out quieter than I expected. "I don't have a sister either." The man turned back toward the house. "Well, she's there most nights," he said, always staring out the window, giggling at nothing. I followed his gaze. The curtains moved slightly in the dark. Suddenly I didn't want to go back inside.